I think a lot of people want to stand out, but I also think what a lot of people miss is that there actually are two ways how to approach it. The same as the concept of freedom, because there are also two ways in which you can have freedom. The freedom of being free from things that you do not want, or the freedom of choice and of free will to decide what you want. So there are always these two poles, both concepts, uniqueness and freedom, which are interrelated, also are an expression of how we connect with the world around us. And what I think we can see this in astrology, for example, very good. If we see the zodiac as a simplified or more abstract concept of how we view reality, more like a model. And the first house of Aries is about our own uniqueness in terms of being ourselves. This is why it is related to or is attributed to the fire element and to the concept of Dharma, because those fire signs, they all of them represent a certain type of energy that if we connect to that on an internal level, this is what gives us strength, what makes us vital, what connects us more to our past, but also to our internal power. And which also can give us mystical experiences. And yeah, it basically is about going within. And on the other hand, we can try to stand out by trying to be different than anybody else. Opposite to the sign of Aries, there's the sign of Libra. And what you have to understand is that in astrology, the sign of Libra also stands for the public sphere. Not only the 10th house stands for the public, the 10th house stands more about the public, how we think about it. And the 7th house and Libra stand more for the public, how we ourselves view the public from our own perspective, looking through our own eyes, not in an abstract way like the 10th house and Capricorn. The sign of Libra is a air element sign, and the air element is compared to this fire element, which is more about going into oneself and into one's power. The air element is more about going outwards, going into abstract thinking, going more into our head and into our mind. And therefore, in terms of nakshatras, because as you probably know, in Vedic astrology, those 27 nakshatras, they represent the 27 different sub-archetypes of our mental, or subtypes of subconscious realm. And the nakshatras that are placed in the fire signs always start with a nakshatra ruled by Ketu, which is the south node in Vedic astrology, or in astrology in general. I know that it is also used in Western astrology. And Ketu really represents this going within and trying to not talk with anyone, staying rather at home and having mystical experiences. It is not by accident that all of the three fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, all start with a nakshatra that is associated with the south node in astrology, Ketu. All the fire signs are about connecting, about going into our body, about connecting to ourselves, about being unique by being ourselves, and therefore sometimes rather avoiding people and rather connecting to our past and to the things that we know, but therefore being able to be ourselves, and sometimes in a very extreme way. Libra, however, as an air sign, the nakshatra in their middle part always is ruled by the planet Rahu, or the planet in astrology Rahu, which represents the uprising or the rising moon node, which stands more for going out and being extroverted and enlarging one's own frame, making new experiences, gathering new ideas. This is basically what this Rahu energy is about. So the point is that both of them, Rahu and Ketu, somehow are just the opposite end of the same thing. This is why Rahu Ketu is also in Hindu mythology. It is there's a tale that both of them are actually a dragon, and in an early stage of creation, the head of this dragon was chopped off, and the head was totally greedy and could never get enough, but at least he was interested, and the body of the dragon was totally satisfied, and he was happy in a certain sense, but there was also something missing, because the interest, there was no head, there was no progress. So Rahu is attributed to this head of the dragon, while Ketu is the more mysterious part, the lower body of the dragon. And if we compare this with our own human organism, this is actually a depiction of the fact that we whether can be very much in our head or in our body, especially because when we experience trauma, it happens that we try to that we internally experience a certain fracture or a split, and whether we flee into the new, and we try to disconnect from our body and go totally in our head, or what we also can do is that we more go into our body and just try to stay away from everything new. So the magic question actually is, how do we make that to, on the one hand, have this advantage of totally being ourselves and still being able to make new experiences, and therefore having this deep inner connection to other people within, while we also have new experiences and a fulfilled and not a boring, rather eventful life as well on the outer level. How can we actually achieve that? And what can this also maybe how is this also related to the topic of relationships in general that we experience? The thing is that the sign of Libra also stands for relationships in general. I think a lot of people who are interested into astrology actually know this. And yes, I know that there are some astrologers who are convinced that the scales from Libra are only a representation of rather the merchant's scales, less than the scales that you use like in law. But I personally see that differently, because as someone who studied law for 1.5 years, for a pretty long time, I know that law basically is about finding a balance of interests. And this also is what happens in Libra. I said earlier in this video that the sign in Libra also is the public sphere, how we view it from our personal perspective. And the sign of Libra is actually what we see when we look through our own eyes, which can be society or another being, for example. So it is really about how do we relate to that other being, or maybe to a certain object, for example, or to something more abstract like society even. So basically, the question is, how do we make that to, especially in relationships, to totally stay ourselves and not always to try to focus too much on other people? And how do we also make it to pay attention to the interests of other people while not forgetting about ourselves? I think there's a very interesting way to think about this if you really want a mind shift. What I realized is that if we think about all, or just try it out, think about all. What are all the people that you include if you think about all, just as a feeling, as an abstract concept? Do you include yourself or do you exclude yourself? This is the question. Because if you include yourself, if you really understand that if you care about all, you also care about yourself. You don't forget yourself. So basically, it is not a paradox, even if it sometimes seems that way for many people. Some people think they are totally they are totally just and totally friendly if they care about all the other people around them, but they do not treat themselves pretty good. And other people, they think, the best way is maybe to gain the most power themselves, and then they can use this power to care for other people. But the thing actually is, we can do both. While we care about ourselves, we can also care about others, and not only care about, but also care for. According to this sign of Libra, what also is very interesting is that this nakshatra of Swati that is in the middle part of the sign of Libra, which is about trying to be different than anyone else, is also associated. This nakshatra is also associated with the star Arcturus, which is a star of the northern hemisphere. And even if you look at the sky, it is a star that is standing very on its own, but is very bright. Because Swati is this principle of just standing in the public and being seen by everyone. While, for example, on the other hand, when you have like the sign of Aries, this is the total. Actually, Aries can be the total egomaniac as well, because it is someone who is so much themselves that he's so much convinced of his heritage. He's so much convinced of his family, and this can be a good thing, but in terms of society, this can also be not the best thing. So how can we achieve better relationships with other people looking at these principles? I think the key really lies in integration, because if you understand it like these yin and yang energies, you can always have the opposite pole included in one pole. So there can be a yin in the yang in the yin. So this means in any relationship, you always connect to the opposite polarity. But this opposite polarity can also have their opposite polarity within them. So it is more like a fractal. And in this way, something like balance is achieved. And I think something very beautiful to understand this, just as a picture, is if you look at this tarot card of the card of judgment. There's I think on this throne there's a king, and he's holding in his right hand he's holding a sword, and in his left hand he is holding scales. So actually, his arms himself represent something like scales, like balance. And the sword always is a symbol for individuality, because if we are really radically ourselves, we are always cutting. We are annoying people and sometimes even pissing people off, or not only sometimes, sometimes even more frequently. And on the other hand, the scales themselves are also a balance of certain things. So in within this image, we can also see this principle of a duality within a certain duality. So balance in balance. And this is exactly how nature works. In nature, balance is always created by different polarities balancing themselves out. And within those polarities, finding new polarities. So there's always, a yang in the yin and the yang, a yin and the yang in the yin, so to say. And I think if you understand this, that it is not about cutting certain things away, because cutting things away or cutting them off is making a compromise. But if you just if you do it differently, if you just try to make new experiences while still being yourself, and always paying attention to the opposite polarity, what you actually do is that you find balance somehow, and this causes something like a living stability. Because also in law, it is the case that a lot of people think about law only in terms of creating a balance of interests, and this is not the case. It's not only a balance of interests; it's also finding about a balance between interest and individuality. So to say it in short, if you really want to grow in life and still want to have a life that is fulfilling, go out, make new experiences, choose what you want, still choosing yourself and choose what you like, and create a balance within and around you, and also be driven towards something in life that you want and that you like, and finding balance within the unknown. And thereby you don't have fear, because everything is good.